Welcome to the Discover Montcalm podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Weed.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Discover Montcalm podcast. My name's Dwayne. I'm your host and producer, and this is episode 71. This is the fourth of a four-part series on Greenville. It was done back in May of 2001, about a week before the then new store was opening up on South Greenville Road. A group of Meijer executives came in along with Hendrik Meijer, and we were asked to come in by the Greenville Daily News to help cover that interview. The Meijer production team was there, and we just kind of tapped in and we captured this interview, and I'm so glad that I found it in my archives. This is a good one for you to go over to the YouTube channel, Discover Montcalm Podcast, and watch it. All of our podcasts are done in audio and video. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook at Discover Montcalm Podcast, along with going to discovermontcalmpodcast.com and checking out all of our episodes. In this episode, the people that are involved, on the far left you have Tom, then there's Jim, Lloyd, Lena, Fred, Leo, Mariel, Dwayne, and the moderator is Rick. How can we do better? How can we be better? Is some of the topics that they talk about in this particular episode. Fred kind of dives into it a little bit in more detail. Let's take a listen.
When I used to go to zoning meetings, or we get neighbors worried about this or that, we said, we don't bring this store to town to junk up your neighborhood. If one piece of paper blows on your yard, you call the store director and he will come, or someone to come, and they'll pick up that paper. You don't even have to go out on your lawn and pick it up, because we don't want to have your lawn look less nice than before we came to town. And of course, when you say that, then you're hoping people like Tom and Rick and various other people that they'll perform on that. And so we go back in the store and I say, I give my word, we pick up the papers around here, so please help me keep my word. But the people appreciate that, and you know, the odd part of it is, if they know they can do it, they never ask you. So we haven't been asked much, and I'm sure we haven't performed perfectly. But basically, a store should not come to a community and denigrate it, have it be worth less or be less pretty because we came. We should be an asset, not a liability.
Rick, I got one story I have to tell about this because it's an unbiased story prior to me joining Meijer. Fred's mentioned I was in the school business. We had a tradition in our school, in the middle schools, that we would have grandparents join us with the kids for Valentine's Day. And so February was there, and I was hosting a table of three wonderful ladies. We got to talking, and it happened to be '86, which was the year I was joining Meijer. So I knew when I was at this Valentine's party that I was going to be joining on April 1st, same day as Lena, different year, joining Meijer. And so this came up in our conversation at the lunch table. And this lady, when she heard I was going to work for Meijer, just kind of exploded. And she said, I've got to tell you this story. And this was a story about our Cascade store, which she lived across the street from. And Cascade store was in the school district that I was then working for. And she said, I lived across the street from the store. When we heard the Meijer store was going to be built, or they were talking about building it, I became the worst enemy of Meijer. I built the signs, I did all the painting, I did the marches, I went to every township meeting, I protested about the store coming to our neighborhood, it's going to ruin it. And she said I was absolutely the most vocal person. The store came anyway. And she says today it's the greatest blessing in our neighborhood, because our group gets together, we go over almost every day, we have coffee in the morning, we come back in the afternoon, do our shopping. They've even put in bingo now, which is one of the biggest events of our life. She said I was so wrong, But she said I was so adamant that that store wasn't going to be built, and if I was wrong, it's the best thing that's ever happened.
And Fred, for what it's worth, most of us have picked up papers all over the neighborhood. So,
Well, I've one time, and I sure wish, Rick, that you could have been there, or Earl, or Harvey, who were active, or Jim, if he wasn't with us yet. But I picked up a nice piece of white paper on the Alpine store, and I got my hand in the business end of the diaper. And I sure would have liked to shook somebody's hand, but all I could do was get rid of the diaper and go in and wash.
I can assure you that's not unique either. So.
But Jim was talking about that store out, the Cascade store at Craft Road. We were looking for a house in Centennial Park across another street, across 28th Street. And I think the fellow was Lindsay Schiffel and Phelps was the lawyer firm, and it was Schiffel or Phelps or somebody. And he's doing some cooking in his yard, and it was dark, and we couldn't find this house. So he told me where it was. Now, if he had not opened his mouth after that, I wouldn't have known. He says, well, you know, I was the lawyer that was opposing you, and it worked out okay, didn't it? And but he was fighting us all the way. Well, he was a hired gun, and he was hired to do that. And I don't know whether his name was Lindsay, Schiffel, or Phelps, but it's one of those three. But he was half apologizing, half reminiscing, and I didn't remember it all. But the store, all those people that were opposed are wonderful customers. So I'm glad we treated them nicely while they carried the signs, because they become our best customers later on.
Well, the location that we're at today is very appropriate, because this is our newest generation of store, what we refer to as the 1.9s. Of course, now we've come full circle 67 years later, almost 67 years after we've opened our first store. Jim, how important was it to build the store of the future here in Greenville?
Well, we didn't start out with that mission in mind. The timing became a very natural thing, and I think it's an absolute perfect place to have kind of a rebirth, and this is a rebirth for our company, because this represents the best and newest of thinking of our company. It follows a very energetic effort we had to become a more competitive store just in the building cost, because we recognize our competitors were building a less expensive store. We needed to find a way to do that. And the challenge for us was not just to build a less expensive store, because about anybody can do that. It was to build a less expensive store, but keep the Meijer flavor and the Meijer spirit and all of the services that we provide to guests embedded in it. And I don't think I mean, this is Hollywood stuff, being able to start your rebirth of your store and your new ideas in the community where your first birth. I think it's just wonderful.
Well, you know, you mentioned competitors, and there are a lot of competitors out there. The last few years, there's almost 4 retailers on every corner. And the big guys are getting bigger, and we're out there competing with a world of full of Walmarts and Kmarts and Targets and Krogers. Can we survive in a retail world with retail giants of that magnitude?
Well, I think what's interesting, Rick, is those names that you've mentioned, the Targets, the Kmarts, the Walmarts. They're not only out there competing against us as national retailers, but if we notice, they have adopted the same exact format that we've adopted. They have, by watching us, I think in part, figured out that this why pay more one-stop shopping that we offer our guests is a pretty darn good way to go into the retail business. And so they're all converting. So I think that the challenge for us is not only how we compete against them, but now the fact that they are doing it the same way we are doing it. So we started out as the leaders in this business. We've got people following us now. We have to be sure that we are absolutely the best at what we do, and our whole strategy that we have put together really identifies that. It's asking us the question, how can we continue to be the best? And we've got many initiatives started to ensure that we stay the best.
Fred, you've got your whole life wrapped up and you've done this, and most people probably in your position would have moved on long ago. You're still an integral part of the company, and
Not most, all.
Well, all people, yes. Why continue? Wouldn't it be easier just to sell to a competitor?
Lena and I go to meetings, business meetings now, and we're not only the oldest, but we're quite often 15 years the oldest. And it's embarrassing sometimes, all these younger folks that are only 65, and it's been my life. I've never had any other job, and I think I could enjoy doing many other things, but it becomes a part of you, and I guess it's like a mother and a child. And I was there the day the store was born. Yes, I was only 14 years old, but it becomes a big part of your life.
Well, another big part of your life is
we just had 2 more. How they can support the thing off on a month's business, you know.
We spent a lot of time here, didn't we?
We sure did.
Little warehouse.
We had the Anderson warehouse first.
Yes, we did. Yes, and then we moved into what he's talking about, the haunted house. Right.
You ever been in it?
we have talked about the long-term team members and what they meant to the company. Of course, sitting next to you, your lovely wife, Fred, been with you for a long, long time. How's Lena helped to shape Meijer stores and its vision?
Well, I don't want to speak for any husband besides myself, but I think marriage is the biggest gamble you take in your life. And I've been very lucky and very fortunate. And Lena's been a great wife and a great supporter. And all I can think of is if something happened to her and I ever got married again, wow, would we spend money. So she is, I surprised her a while ago because Lena's been a great partner. And I surprised her because I don't think she believed it for a minute. And then she thought, but she couldn't counteract it or contradict it. And I said, you know, nothing you've ever bought in your life have I ever said you paid too much. Why did you do it? Now, if she asked me ahead of time, well, we don't need that new rug or that new couch. I admit, she should ask me. I said, if you don't want my opinion, just go out and do it. And I promise I won't complain. And I think she was surprised at that, weren't you? But she won't shake her head one way or another. But anyway, she's been a good partner.
Well, we've all heard the story about how your dad wanted to raise the rates of the cashiers, I think, and Lena happened to be a cashier at the time. And,
yes.
You didn't think she was worth it? Is that what it was?
No.
And
I'll get more
good decision now, looking back on that.
I'll get more factual than that. But Lena was making $13 a week, and all the cashiers were making $13 a week. She started at 12, 54 hours. And so she had a chance to go and work for a hardware store, Marion Seigendorf, downtown Greenville Hardware, for $15 a week. And after I told this story, she said, and for less hours too. Oh, okay. 50 years later, good God. Anyway, so she's a misused team member or something. But anyway, so I go to my dad and I said, Lena's going to leave. She can get $15 a week. And I've probably done that 100 times because you know people can get jobs and get better paid in a lot of places than we pay if you want to do what comes with the job you go to. And so I said to my dad said, well, maybe we ought to raise her to 15. I said, well, you can't raise her to 15 unless you pay all the other cashiers 15. There was 5 other cashiers, 6 altogether. Well, maybe we should raise them all. And he was thinking maybe it was time for just a general raise. And I hadn't thought of that. And so, but I said, that cost us $12 a week. Yeah, he said, she isn't worth it. Well, I didn't know that 4 years later I was going to marry her, and I tell you, she's worth it.
Okay, we'll assume that was a good decision then. Okay, looking back on it now. So, Jim, what does Lena mean to the company?
She means motherhood. She's got a spirit that I think engenders exactly what we've been all talking about here today. I think that we have a company that really loves Lena Meijer, and I think it's a great blessing to have that kind of icon in our company.
And of course, we can't let that kind of icon go without her contribution to some of these comments.
My problem is so many people call her a saint for living with me. And I think she's beginning.
That's one of these questions, Fred. You're jumping ahead here.
I think she's beginning to believe it. Now it's my problem.
I can't go very many places anymore. And people say, you've got to be a saint to live with him.
And you know what?
We will second that.
I know what she means.
I'll hear that.
Well, Lena, did you think the supermarkets were going to be as successful as they were? Did you ever envision way back then?
It's hard for me to believe. When we had the one store, then we got married, and I thought we'd have that store, and that would be it. I had no idea, no visions of, like, it's hard for me to believe we have this many stores.
Well, here's an open-ended question for you, and a tricky one at that. What about Fred did you fall in love with?
Pardon me?
What about Fred did you fall in love with? What attracted you to Fred?
Yeah, let's hear that.
Now you're getting kind of personal.
Perhaps we should leave it. There's such a breadth of reasons that we haven't got time to really go into it. At any rate, do you ever get tired of the retail business?
No, I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it.
Is there such a thing as retirement in your household?
I don't think so.
No.
But she reads the minutes.
I read a lot of...
She reads the changes. And she reads a lot of things.
Store directors changes.
That I think it's unusual for a married couple to, after all these years, we've been married about 110 years together, 55 each.
Well, Lena, everybody who knows you thinks the world of you. You can include me on that list, by the way. And they think of you as the first lady of retail. Your family is humble, down-to-earth people, and
I think we have 3 fine sons. They're all different, but they're nice human beings.
I'm trying to figure out which one I'm the father of, because I know she's the mother of all 3, and they're all different. So I tell her, tell me who's the father of the other 2. But I think I'm on dangerous territory now on tape.
I don't think I'll ask for an explanation. We'll let it go at that. Jim and Tom also, what excites you about the future of the company?
I'm going to let Tom go first, and then I'm going to follow that.
Well, this building and the whole strategy behind this building, and how we're going to have to remain competitive, is what really excites us. It excites me as a store director. It gives us a challenge, no question about it. But we've been given this beautiful facility. We've needed it for quite some time. And yet we think we really can show the rest of the company what Greenville's all about, what we can really do with a building like this.
It's hard to walk into this building if you're in the retail business and not get excited about what's about to happen and what's about to take place.
Rick, one of the things that is the absolute best part of my job is that I get to regularly go to classroom sessions that we conduct within our company. We call them LLCs, our learning resources for new people coming in to take on leadership roles in our company. So it's the first class that we teach for people that are going to take on the responsibility of other human beings, to manage and lead other human beings. And I go to those, and I usually spend a segment of time and just talk about the company and talk about their job and what it means to the company and what it should mean to them. And then we always close with question and answers. And to engage these folks that are coming into our company, some for the very first time, and some people have been with us a very long time and have just decided they wanted to get into leadership. That is so exciting, because that is the future of our company. And it gives you a chance to engage them, and it gives you a chance to stand back and say, here are folks that are eager and anxious to learn how to become a leader at Meijer, which I think is different than leadership in most other places, because we do expect things different. We do expect anyone that works in our company to have the dignity and respect that we've talked about here. And for me, that's the excitement of what the future is all about. Because it's that enthusiasm, it's those people that are going to be the Toms of the future, the Ricks, myself, that are going to take on the next role, the next generation of our company. And to see them come, and with their excitement and enthusiasm, that's what excites me about our future.
Well, there's no doubt they have a very, very rich history. And perhaps Jim and Fred, how can that history benefit us in the future? How can the history of the company work to our benefit as we go forward?
Well, history is always an evolving process, and we can't say what benefits or what doesn't benefit. We're all a part of it. I think if you see the problems in the world today, but basically if you can look at the problems of our own selves or how we look on things, and if we can become better citizens in the work we do, of our great country and the world. And I realize that's making a broad brush, but it makes us more comfortable with what we are if we're contributing. And so Carl Sandburg was a great poet, and he said that whether you handle sugar, honey, or dung, some of it sticks to the fingers. Well, if we can be a part of the sugar in people's lives, of helping people to be better while we're helping ourselves to grow and be better, that makes it more worthwhile than if we just say we're doing business and that sort of thing. So I think this is the satisfaction I get out of it, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. And when I hear people like Dwayne or like Marv Peterson way back when, the wonderful people you meet, and we see Muriel about once every couple of years, and Philip, her husband, and but it's always a good feeling to meet Muriel and Philip. And Muriel and Philip represents the backbone of what the people that have come and retired, and Muriel has been retired, I guess she said 15 years? 14 years. But those are good memories. And of course, at my age, I had a CAT scan last week, and they said they couldn't find anything in my head, and I think it's absolutely right. I was glad they couldn't find anything wrong. They didn't say if they found anything right, but basically, what life is all about is the people you meet, the people you enjoy, and if you see people that are very wealthy and they don't have their health, if we can have examples in the company that people are better citizens, it breaks my heart to see young people start to smoke and this sort of thing. So we hope that we can be an influence for good while they're an influence for our good. And I don't know if I answered the question, but this is the essence of what I feel.
Very, very well. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. I think we've covered a lot of subjects, and we didn't address everything to everybody. So I'd kind of like to throw it open if anybody's got any additional comments. And
I don't know whether you want to use it in the tape or not, but I know Leo is dying to sing a song.
You'd like to sing a song?
Yeah, aren't you dying to sing a song?
No, I wouldn't want to die.
He's living to sing a song.
I think that could be the closing act, Fred, but I really would like to throw it open to anybody who may have any additional comments.
Oh,
that
through
could
the
describe
struggle
Meijer and
and
its historical
strife
importance.
we find in this life really worthwhile after all. I've been wishing today I could just run away out there where the west winds call, with someone like you, a pal good and true. I'd like to leave it all behind and go and find some place that's known to God alone. Just a spot to call our own. We'll find the perfect peace where joys will never cease. Out there beneath a kindly sky, we'll build a sweet little nest somewhere out in the west, and let the rest of the world go by, and let the rest of the world go by. There's a long, long trail winding into the land of my dreams, where the nightingales are singing and the white moon beams. There's a long, long night awaiting until my dreams all come true, and the day when I'll be going down that long, long trail with you. And
Leo just passed his 95th birthday, and I hope I can be as fit as he is.
I hate to get him on the karaoke.
Here's one that Lena sang to Fred. You were meant for me, I was meant for you. God patterned you, and when you were done, you were all the sweet things rolled up in one. You're like a plaintive melody that never sets me free. Oh, I'm content. The angels must have sent you, and they meant you just for me. Meant you just for me. I got one I'd sing, and Fred don't like it.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick.
Appreciate it.
Well, that concludes the fourth part of a four-part series on the birthplace of Meijer, which is Greenville. And I liked it. I'm glad that I found it in my archives. I'm glad that I was able to bring it out and share it to everybody, because Meijer has had a big impact, not only in Greenville, but in all the Midwest. And this interview just kind of lets you dive into some of the store execs at the time, some of the local people, and just kind of gives you a flavor of what Meijer has meant to them. If you have a story, family story, a business story, something about your organization, reach out to me. My name's Dwayne. You can contact me at 231-250-9624. That's 231-250-9624. Or you can email me at Dwayne@dwvideo.com. That's DUANE@dwvideo.com. Want to thank you for tuning in. Hope you appreciated this four-part series. And remember to buy and shop locally.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Dwayne at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.